President Trump, our great Mikado virtuous man, kicked off his 12-day trip to Asia with some golf club koi fish diplomacy alongside Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. We'll break down the first few days. Then, Emily Butler and Jacob Airy join the panel of deplorables to discuss this awful shooting in Texas, former DNC chairman Donna Brazil's seeming to substantiate Seth Rich conspiracy theories, and Hillary's fighting back as Democrats almost uniformly throw her under the bus. I'm Michael Knowles, and this is The Michael Knowles Show. There is so much to get to today. I just got back I was on the East Coast this weekend. I went to the William F. Buckley Jr. dinner at Yale, which was great. That is 100% of any conservative who has anything to do with any college in the country just goes to this one dinner at Yale for academic and intellectual diversity there. So went to that. My flight was delayed by about 100 million hours, so I got in at about 4 a.m. this morning. I have been mainlining Covfefe all day. It has been just like right intravenous, so hopefully we'll have enough high energy. We won't have like Jeb Bushiness to bring us down. We'll have enough high energy to get through all these important topics today. And I did get some good news. I was so beaten down. I came in, it was really awful. Yale has fallen apart, and obviously I haven't slept in forever because Yale has fallen apart, but they still drink like fish, so it was a very exhausting weekend. And we got some good news today that we have to talk about first. We're going to keep the lights on for another week. Marshall, you are not fired for a whole other week.
Thank God.
Because we have a new sponsor. So we got to give these guys some love. All of our sponsors have been great, as you've heard. They have great products. And this one is really good and really helpful and will save you a lot of money. So you should get it ASAP. It's called Texture. It's the Texture app. And, anytime that I've applied for an academic position or a fellowship or college or a society or some social institution, the one question that is on all of these applications and all of these forms that you send in is, what magazines do you subscribe to? Because when you go into someone's house, I've had the privilege of going into the houses of many wealthy people. And the one thing I noticed is they all read Architectural Digest. I don't know why. That is just like the rich guy magazine, and it's all there. And so people read magazines because it gives you really high quality coverage and commentary, and it just brings you into the conversation with people. I think that's why all of these secret societies and different clubs and institutions, they always ask you, what are you reading? Now, I'm a millennial, which means two things. One, I hate delayed gratification. I don't want to wait for a physical magazine to come in the mail. I'm not going to deal with it. I barely check my mailbox. And the other is I don't have endless money. I've already obviously spent all of the blank book money, so I don't have endless money to spend hundreds of dollars, $1,000 a year subscribing to all of the magazines that I want to read. But luckily, there is a Texture which solves both problems. Magazines weave together great writing, beautiful photography, all of that stuff. So if I want to read National Geographic, that'll take me away to another place. If I want to see the future, I can read Wired. Some say the world will end in Wired. Some say in Vice. Who knows? And, quality magazines should be available anytime without having to carry them around. The Texture app will give you unlimited access to over 200 premium magazines. Right now, you can try it for free. And if you go to texture.com/Knowles, that's Knowles, like Beyonce before she took the name off. She was so embarrassed by our family. Texture.com/Knowles. You'll get the trial for free. You can check it out right now. It will cost you nothing. Then if you choose to continue, it's only $9.99 per month, which is an unbelievable deal. It's 30% off their regular deal to get all of these premium magazines, but it's also so much cheaper than actually subscribing to magazines. It is like a fraction of the cost. So go over there right now. There are great gift options available for the holiday season that we're moving into. So if you want to send your buddy some sophistication or a family member or something, there are great gift options available. Go to texture.com/Knowles to start your free trial today. That is texture.com/Knowles, texture.com/Knowles, and help us keep the lights on, and you'll get to educate yourself and become a real cool sophisticate. All right, now we have to get to all of this news. This was really crazy. I was up all night, and in the middle of the night, I received exclusive video footage of President Trump and Prime Minister Shinzo Abe caught on a hot mic describing their diplomatic relationship.
There is beauty in the bellow of the blast. There is grandeur in the growling of the gale. There is eloquent outpouring when the lion is a-roaring and the tiger is a-lashing of his tail.
Yes, I like to see a tiger from the Congo or the Niger, and especially when he's lashing of his tail.
Volcanoes have a splendor that is grim, and earthquakes only terrify the dolts. But to him who's scientific, there is nothing that's terrific in the falling of a flight of thunderbolts.
Yet, in spite of all my meekness, if I have a little weakness, it's a passion for a flight of thunderbolts. If that is so, sing very now, very, it's evident, very on taste now one. Away we'll go and merrily marry, hardly tarry the day is done.
Incredible footage. It is just amazing to really get a peek in at what diplomacy looks like. There it is. There is eloquent outpouring when the lion is a-roaring, and our president, with his big golden mane, was a-roaring. Earthquakes only terrify the dolts. It's evident very. Our tastes are one. By the way, is that reference the most obscure musical reference we've ever put on any of these shows? I think it might be, as Groucho Marx in the Mikado. But it does sum it up very well. Our tastes are one. President Trump and Shinzo Abe seem to get along quite well. Trump's journey will be the longest presidential trip to Asia in 25 years, quarter of a century. The last trip that extended this long was undertaken by President Bush I, and it famously did not end very well.
ABC News has obtained a videotape that shows clearly what happened when the president fell ill. Here's White House correspondent Ann Compton.
The lone camera in the dining room was locked in on the head table when President Bush was overcome by nausea and fell forward. It appears he lost consciousness as he toppled over onto his host, Prime Minister Miyazawa. The new scenes show First Lady Barbara Bush acting quickly, recognizing her husband needed help, bringing her napkin to his mouth, then stepping back to let the Secret Service agents take over.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that President Bush Sr.'s keeling over and vomiting was a bit low energy. So Trump decided to make his diplomatic overtures higher energy, not by spewing his lunch, but by spewing his words.
The Japanese people are thriving. Your cities are vibrant, and you've built one of the world's most powerful economies. I don't know if it's as good as ours. I think not. Okay? And we're going to try and keep it that way, but you'll be second. And yet, for all of its modern splendor, the people of Japan maintain a profound respect for their rich culture, heritage, and traditions.
Now, could you spot the point at which he went off script? I don't know if you could tell. Could you tell the point where he stopped reading the script and started ad-libbing?
Heritage and tradition.
Yeah, right around there. Somewhere around there. You know, Abe, by the way, seemed okay with this. The American mainstream media are ripping this to shreds and saying this was awful and terrible diplomacy. But Abe seemed okay with it. He smiled as his interpreter in his earpiece told him what Trump had said. The conclusion of this meeting has been great. Japan has announced that it will go along with U.S. sanctions on North Korea. They're going to freeze the assets of 35 North Korean groups and individuals. He also Abe underscored the Trump policy, the American policy on North Korea, which is no dialogue. We've had enough dialogue, time to maximize pressure. To exemplify the U.S.-Japanese cooperation, Abe gave Donald Trump a hat embroidered with the phrase, "Donald and Shinzo make alliance even greater," before they headed to play golf. I love it so much. This diplomacy has an exuberance to it. I mean, that even though it doesn't even say Trump and Abe, right? It says Donald and Shinzo. It's so campy. It's so real politics. You know, it's being very honest with what it is. There's no pretense here. There's no guile. You know, President Trump said on North Korea, the era of strategic patience is over. That was the title, Strategic Patience, of Obama's policy toward North Korea, which is it transcends parody to say we have strategic patience. We're going to lead from behind. It just isn't possible, right? You know, it's a euphemism that is so ridiculous as to undermine itself. Abe said dialogue has failed for 25 years, so he's throwing throwing some shade on President Obama's foreign policy. And so anyway, they seem to have gone along quite well. CNN could not take it. CNN was so furious, they had to breathlessly report fake news. This was a headline from one of the moments of this trip. Quote, Trump feeds fish, winds up pouring entire box of food into koi pond. That's what it, so there was this moment where Trump and Abe were there at the little koi pond with the fish, and they were spooning out spoonfuls of fish food, and then the camera zoomed in on Trump. And well, this is the line from the report. President Trump took a moment out of his whirlwind Japanese trip to connect with nature and feed some fish. But after a few delicate scoops, he resorted to a grand gesture met with some laughter. With a look of enjoyment, Trump quickly poured his entire box of food into the pond. The move got some laughs and a smile from Abe, who actually appeared to dump out his box of food ahead of Trump. So they had to bury that line, right? The whole thing is what an idiot Trump is. There's a video that CNN posted where they're spooning it out, it zooms in on Trump, and Trump pours out the rest of the box. The reason they had to add that artificial zoom is because they didn't want to show that Abe had done that first. Fake news at its finest, you know, obviously par for the course for CNN, but there is no reason to give those people even an ounce of credibility. They don't deserve it. They don't possess it. They are so furious that Donald Trump, contrary to all of their expectations, all of their insistence, is handling diplomacy relatively quite well, and so they have to make up stories out of whole cloth, such as Trump endangering the lives of koi fish or embarrassing himself. Now compare this trip to the highly successful foreign trip, you know, to his previous administration. Here is the failed Russian reset.
President Biden and I have been saying, and that is, we want to reset our relationship. And so we will do it together.
Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. We worked hard to get the right Russian word. Do you think we got it?
You get it wrong.
I got it wrong.
You got it wrong, but you worked hard.
Перезагрузка. And this says перегрузка, which means overcharge.
There, if any clip could exemplify Barack Obama's administration and Hillary Clinton's candidacy, it would be that one. They failed, but you didn't see rampant reporting in the mainstream media on this huge international embarrassment. No, because that was Hillary. It's all nice. There's a patina of elitism and legitimacy there. Donald Trump has been carrying this off very well. Consider Barack Obama bowing down before every foreign leader he could find. He would bow down before the stewardess on his Japan Air flight. You know, we see Barack Obama, or rather Donald Trump did not do that. He shook Emperor Hirohito. He shook the Japanese emperor's hand. We're seeing two foreign policies here. The Obama policy, in which America is a supplicant begging forgiveness for its endless imagined crimes, and we're seeing the Trump foreign policy of speaking loudly and carrying the gold-plated golf clubs that Prime Minister Abe actually gave him. Which version makes America and the world safer and more prosperous? To discuss this, we bring on our extra special Covfefe panel today, Emily Butler from Daily Wire, and also from wandering around madly around the sidewalks, Jacob Airy. Thank you both for being here. Emily, does the world hate us, and does it matter?
Yes and no, as an answer to both of those.
Really strong. Oh, good.
Yes, they hate us. No, it doesn't matter.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, actually, I don't think the rest of the world hates us. I think what you're seeing now is more and more news organizations start to resemble actually marketing agencies, where there is news and then there is news according to this media outlet sponsor. So whatever that media outlet sponsor wants us to believe, interpret, digest is the news that we're going to get. You know, perfect case in point, the whole Shinzo Abe fish thing. I mean, that's like classic cutting up of what actually happened and turning it into what you need to know, basically, everything that's coming from CNN or Vox or everything from the left.
But it was a perfectly, they must have hired a team of Hollywood writers to take what actually happened and so mash it up and rewrite everything about it as to make this narrative that they ran.
Only Hollywood can bring us the truth.
Yeah, they always do this all the time. They have some narrative about an event in the news, and then it turns out not to be true at all. Like Michael Brown, right? They said that was an example of police brutality against black citizens, and he was innocent, and he was surrendering and all of that. Then we find out none of that's true. The grand jury showed it was true. 3 autopsies showed it was true. They said, well, that wasn't true, but it expresses a greater truth. That lie expresses the greater truth.
Which is their narrative.
Jacob, why are Democrats so mortified and embarrassed by President Trump's eccentricity? By all accounts, his foreign policy is much more successful than his predecessors. Is it just that the left cares more about appearance than reality?
Yes, they do care more about appearance than reality. And also, they're not embarrassed by Trump as the president. They're embarrassed that Trump is beating Barack Obama's foreign policy legacy. That's what they're embarrassed about. So anything that they can make look like a snafu or a gaffe or anything, they're going to turn it and use it against President Trump. I think that it's absolutely despicable how CNN edited that video to make Trump look like a goofball and whatnot. And one thing that they left out, which I thought was kind of funny, I thought they would have talked about this, is right before Trump went to Japan, he visited Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
I guess just to remind himself, okay, these people attacked us before World War II. That's what got us into the war. So now I'm going to go and shake hands with their emperor. And quite frankly, I'm proud of the president for not bowing. I'm glad that he respected him and shook his hand. But the United States, we're not a nobility. We bow to no one.
I have always had, in the dark recesses of my conspiratorial mind, I have always had this theory that when President Bush keeled over and vomited on the Prime Minister of Japan, it was really a performance to get back for Pearl Harbor. George Bush, a hero of World War II. It was a subtle little jab 50 years later. Okay, we have so much more to talk about. We have to talk about this awful shooting at the Texas church on Sunday, and then we have to just have much better news, which is the reveling of the DNC and the Democratic Party falling apart, a circular firing squad of my third cousin once removed's former campaign and Donna Brazile. But I'm sorry, guys. I wish that you could stick around if you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, but you can't because I need to be able to afford Covfefe in my Leftist Tears tumbler. So you'll have to go to thedailywire.com. If you go there, it is $10 a month, $100 a year. For those who have already subscribed, thank you very much. You help us keep the lights on. For those who don't, you'll get me. You'll get the Andrew Klavan Show. You'll get the Ben Shapiro Show. You'll now get The Conversation, which is a new series that we've done. I know what you're saying. Michael, I'm more tired than you are. You didn't even sleep last night. Well, that's fine. Let me see if this wakes you up. The Leftist Tears Tumbler. This, by the way, this batch is being dedicated to Donna Brazile. Donna Brazile has done more for the propagation of leftist tears in this country than anybody I've ever seen. She's done much more for water conservation, particularly salty water conservation. So go over there right now. You can have your leftist tears hot or cold, always salty and delicious. TheDailyWire.com. We'll be right back.